I'm James at Blackwell Jewellers. Today we're in our workshop at Bexley Heath and I've had a parcel delivered. I've been speaking to a customer for the last week and we're going to hand make a silver ring. Here's the parcel. We're going to open it in front. I'm hoping it's got the stone enclosed, but I've checked it. It's got the customer's details on it. So I'm going to get Russ. Russ, do you mind just opening this for us? You're going to go through this and we're going to show you step by step how we're going to hand make a silver ring. It's going to be a lot of fun and you're going to learn loads. Now this was ordered on our website, the Jewellery Mechanic, and we started to cater for the whole UK. We keep getting asked from people that have bought from us on our Shopify site, why don't you do repairs in the whole UK? And that's what we've done. We set up a website, the Jewellery Mechanic, and you can use it. Yeah, so look, we've got the receipt. When I was speaking to the lady, this is quite an unusual stone for the size more than anything. It's a bit unique. So they don't manufacture loads of settings, so we're going to actually hand make this, so you're going to see exactly what we are going to do. So I'm going to leave you over to Russell now and he's going to hand make the whole process. I'm going to talk you through, so you're in for a little treat. Look forward to seeing you on the other side. Right, okay, so now what we're doing, we're starting to anneal it. This is actually silver, so silver does heat up really quick, very soft and easy to work with, a lot easier than gold. Now there are rolling mills, so the first thing we've got to do is we've got to get the silver into the right shape. As you can see now we're milling it out, annealing it again and getting the length. This is going to be for the band. Always anneal it so it's nice and cherry red, evenly annealed. Making sure to keep it nice and straight. And one of the things you do as a jeweller, you always make sure that each stage is correct before you move on. So Russell would have made sure that the piece of silver we're working with is flat before we start turning it over. Now we're going to turn it up to the right finger size. At the moment I think the ring needs to be a size M for mother. And you can see the reason we've done the cut there is because when you're turning up a band, the hardest part is always curving up the first section. Just pulling it round now. We're getting that join. We're going to solder it up and that will allow us to knock it round, get it perfectly on size before we move on to the next stage. We're using silver solder. We will be cutting through this join again. Again, we're not going to move on until the ring's round and nice and flat. Really important, getting all the right sections done at a time. So Russell's going to take it up a little bit now. This also helps it get the ring round without knocking the hell out of it, and also helps get it on the right finger size. Starting to file the size flat. Sorry to interrupt the video, but if you'd love to watch how we handmade this 5-carat pink natural diamond, check out our video in our page. I'm James at Blackwell Jewellers. So there's a few things as a jeweller that you need to master, and that's what takes time. It's cutting and filing. Like, you have to get these absolutely spot on all the time. If you can't file flat, you won't be able to make jewellery. As simple as that. I spent years just going over the same things all the time, just repetition, so that my cutting was, 100% on point, and same with my filing. So what we've done now is we've cut the band in half. We've made a little mark, cutting it, and we're going to open it out, and this is going to create the split shoulders. See, some people actually solder shoulders on. You can do that, but we like doing it this way. It's much neater. You don't want any joins in the band. That's a stone that was an unusual shape, so we're going to have to hand make that setting. We actually used a little bit of super glue there, a little bit of secret sauce. Pin the stone down. I'm just going to heat it up now and make the glue soft so we can take the stone off. That just helped us draw around the stone because that will give us an exact replica of the stone when we're cutting out. It's so much easier to do that. Trick of the trade. So you learn everything with Blackwell's YouTube channels. The little section that Russell's cutting out now is where the stone is actually going to sit. This will be like the bezel of the stone. So that's a phrase, we're phrasing out the oval so the stone sits perfectly in that hole. It has to sit down on a certain amount for the claws to go over. That will make sense. Now we're going to cut out the outside. Silver's very hard to cut because it's soft. It can make the blade get caught quite a lot. So again, it's quite skilled knowing your different metals. Now it's cut out, we're just doing a little bit of filing. We don't really spend loads of time filing. You know, if your cutting's good, you don't need to spend ages filing. We're just taking a little bit of the edge off, getting the size right. Now we're going to use emery paper just to clean off the filing, makes it easier to polish. So if you're making anything, doesn't matter if it's a ring or whatever, you always want to make sure you have as little joins as possible. You know, that's the actual skill. So we don't want, 4 joins in a ring. We only really want one, which would be where Russell's just soldered. And that's why we took time to get the size right, because if you get the size wrong when you're making something, then you've either got to make the ring smaller or you've got to add silver or gold to make it bigger. It's just, you end up with a bad finish. See the way Russell files, confident, that's years of filing. Knowing that you're filing flat, knowing that you're following the contour of the ring. And I say that's just years and years of repetition. Whenever you're soldering, always make sure your area surface is clean, and that's really, really important with any soldering. If your joint is dirty, the solder will not run. You end up with a bad joint. The silver does get dirty quick when you're soldering, but even when you saw that there, that the area was always clean, the other parts started going black. This is the bottom bezel of the setting, which will always has to be the same finger shape, which was a size M. So we've had to curve it up slightly to make sure it follows the shape of the ring. Again, these little things take time. You know, you don't move on until that section's right. After filing, again, we're using the emery paper. Clean off any file marks, because you don't want to be trying to get in there with a file when you've soldered it in there, because you end up filing the ring. These little things is what makes the difference between a good finish and an average finish. So nice and gentle, we're not rushing anything, you know, we don't want to melt, get all that work done, spend that time getting that bottom bezel lovely, and then put a load of heat in and melt it. You know, you just take your time. I would just like to add that this ring, we made this in 2.5 hours. So we had to have it done that day, and it had to be posted out that afternoon because it was for a birthday. So we had a little bit of pressure, but I thought I'd just let you know that this was done literally the day it arrived. It's, you know, it's a service that I spoke to the customer, and she was desperate to have it for her birthday, and I said, look, we'll do it. Again, we're straightening out the wire now. Getting rid of any file marks before we move on to the next stage. We're just going to be putting the claws on, which is what's going to hold the stones in. We're using a saw there just to cut where the claws are going to go. That's silver solder, small little sections, getting in there quick. Once you get the first claw, and you just work your way round. Making sure that each claw's got solder running right through from one side to the other. So then once we set that stone, what you don't want is when you push down on a claw and you haven't soldered it correctly and it snaps off, because you'd have to start again. So it's lovely and clean. Just going to take some of that excess silver off, and then we're going to get it on the right finger size, which is a size M. Now, if we've done everything correctly, we'd have only taken a little bit off that bezel because it's already the right finger shape. And we're using a brass wheel to get in there and bring up areas that we can't get to on a polishing mop. These, these are the difference between a really good finish and an average finish. And then that's the difference between handmade and obviously casting. Like when it's cast, you start seeing casting marks in places you can't reach. Okay, so now we're just pulling back the claws a little bit. We're going to put the stone in, and then we're going to start phrasing out the claws to take the stone. Because if you can imagine, if you drop the stone down, if you just push them claws over, the stone needs to sit in the middle of the claws. You can't just push the claws over the stone. It will just look, well, it just won't work. It'll look awful. It'll bulge out and it'll just fall out. You'll see what I mean. So what Russell's doing now is he's marking where he needs to take out a little bit of the claw, because he can see where the stone's going to sit. And that's what we're going to do now. We're going to start to fraise away just a little bit. If you fraise too much out, that's even worse than not doing it, because you'll take all the strength off the claw. Where we've marked it, we mustn't go above that, so we just take a little bit off there. You can see the wheel spinning slowly because silver's so soft. If you put too much pressure in that, you're going to just burn through the whole lot. So it's just under halfway, and then you stop. So again, we're checking. You can actually see there that you can see where the stone's going to actually sit as he works its way round. Where we brace it out, the edge of the stone's actually going to be pushed into it, and you can see now the claw going over. And so once them claws are straight up, the stone should sit into it, and then you just push it over. And again, it's all about getting the stages right. If you make that bezel too big, the claws are going to sit back too far, and you'll just be pushing them away from too far. You make it too small, you would have to fraise all the claw over. So it's getting each stage right. It's really, really important. And again, that just takes years of just trial and error and learning as you learn the job. Simple as that. Like, you can be shown what to do, but it's like any trade, plumbing, electrician, takes years to master. You're always learning. I've been doing this for over 35 years, and I still see stuff that blows me away. So we're using a cutter there just to round off the claws, and that's the finished item there. All the claws are lovely and smooth, won't catch, and I think she's going to be very happy with that. So that was done in the morning, just to make sure it's ready for her birthday. Absolutely over the moon with that. Hope you enjoyed that video, that little insight how we hand make a silver ring. Now, if you're interested, we've got an online Jewellery Mechanic website that you can get any repair done just by clicking the link in my bio. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps us create content that you love. I'm James at Blackwell Jewellers.